Let's talk more rock!
Ciao a tutti, qui Francesca per Let's Talk More Rock. Siamo al Cycle di Calenzano dove questa sera suoneranno i 12 Foot Ninja, a cui siamo andati a fare qualche domandina.
Be ready up!
Hi Ken.
Ciao.
First of all, tell us about your latest record, Outlier, from the title to the themes it contains. Are there also any particular anecdotes about the writing and the recording sessions?
I wish there were anecdotes about the writing and recording sessions. It was an album that took us 3.5 years to complete, from inception to completion. It was a long process. There were a lot of debates, and I mean, we primarily wrote the album via email. So it was difficult. We ended up, I think, with about 60 sketches for songs. But yeah, we couldn't agree on anything, so we whittled it down to 10 songs that made sense. The word outlier, well, in this particular context, is someone that is kind of on the fringes of the mainstream, on the outside of the mainstream, and usually they are independent, and we see outliers as innovators. So what we were kind of discussing was that our fan base are outliers because they accept what we do, because what we do is so different, and it's quite challenging for a lot of people. So we consider those who support us to be the outlier, in the same way that we consider ourselves as a band to be an outlier. We're outside of the mainstream and outside of the box. We don't fit a particular scene, and it's hard to genre specify what it is that we do. So that's really what Outlier is about. It's about independent thinking, innovation, and going your own way, staying true to yourself. As far as the central themes of the album, we were surrounded by the issue of mortality, and a lot of us had experienced it in various degrees while we were writing the album. I had a best friend of mine passed away while we were on tour in the US, and I couldn't get home to console the family. I couldn't be there for the funeral, which was really, really difficult for me. And others in the band also experienced issues with mortality in a certain way. So I think the undercurrent of the album is really mortality and making the most of your life while you have it, because death could come any moment, the next moment, tomorrow. So you might as well just give everything you got and suck the marrow out of life, enjoy it.
Where does 12 Foot Ninja come from?
12 Foot Ninja was it was conceived by Stevik, and Stevik's our guitarist and mastermind, and he was basically in a car with a friend of his, and they were playing a game of Would You Rather. That's what we call it. So it's like, can I swear? Is it all right to swear? Yeah, it's metal. Yeah. So it's like, you're given a question like, would you eat a gram of shit a day? Would you rather eat a gram of shit a day for 2 weeks, or eat 2 kilos of shit in one go? So in this particular instance, it was, I think it was something like, would you rather be a robot or a warrior with machine gun arms in the 16th century, or a 12-foot ninja? I think that's how it goes. And this question was posed to Stevik, and Stevik said 12-foot ninja. But he asked the question, does the 12-foot ninja still have the same dexterity as a 6-foot ninja? And the answer was yes. And Stevik said, well, then I'd be a 12-foot ninja. And all of a sudden something clicked in his brain, and he realized he had a name for a band. So he called our drummer Russ, and he said, "Okay, I think I've got a name for the band. What do you think of 12 Foot Ninja?" And Russ said, "Oh yeah, it's kind of cool if you're 8 years old." So Stevic just went, "That's it. That's the name." So that's how it came about.
You already may have been told that your sound somehow reminds an evolution of Faith No More's work. What do you think of them and Patton's other projects?
Well, Faith No More was one of my favourite bands. They were my favourite band for a long time, but they still exist as one of my favourite bands. And I was very much, as a teenager, I was very much inspired by Mike Patton. And just his pragmatism and just how eclectic and versatile he is as a performer and also as a vocalist, especially as a vocalist. So it kind of inspired me at a time when I didn't think that I'd ever make a career of singing. Actually, I was opposed to it. I thought that was probably not a good idea. But I heard the album Angel Dust, and that changed everything for me. So yeah, I get that comparison quite a lot, and I have adapted certain techniques that he uses into what I do. So they have been Faith No More and Patton in particular have been a big influence on me. I love Patton's work outside of Faith No More and outside of Mr. Bungle, probably more than Faith No More and Mr. Bungle. The work he's done with John Zorn and there are so many. Too many to mention, but I loved Fantomas and I loved Tomahawk and
love that too.
Yeah, he's just so versatile and really inventive, and I consider him a genius. I consider him a maestro, a master of his craft, in the same way that I would consider Sinatra a master or Kurt Elling a master. He's very much a master. So if I'm being compared to anyone, it's an honour that I would be compared to him. I just hope it's in sort of the more friendly sense of the word, because I'm certainly not trying to step into his territory or on his toes. But no, I love him. I love you, mate.
Is there a main composer, or is the whole band involved in the writing process? Do you jam a lot, or mainly sit in front of a computer?
I'd love to romantically say that we all sit in a room and we jam for hours and we go, yeah, man, that's great. It doesn't happen like that. We do write songs via correspondence. I think for Outlier, myself, Stevic, and Rowan Hayes, our other guitarist, we collaborated the most on the music and the vocals and everything. I kind of look after the vocals, or the majority of them, and the melodies and the lyrics. But the guys on this one, we collaborated a little bit on that, and they had a little bit more input into what I was doing, because we wanted to make it a more cohesive record. I think on Silent Machine, I looked after everything, all the melodies, all the lyrics, and the whole lot. And even though a lot of people loved that album, it was seen as a little bit too ambiguous, and I think the guys kind of wanted to just mature that a little bit more, so that people would kind of be attracted to it from first listen, rather than it be an album that they have to listen to over and over again before it starts to sink in. But I mean, we all write music. We're all musicians, so I think, over the years, everyone has had input into what we do, and everyone is a great part of what we do. So I don't think the writing, is any one particular member's responsibility. I think it's all of us. But yeah, we do, we are a little bit backwards as far as it's all sitting on a computer, email communication. I think for the next one, we're looking at collaborating more together in the same room, which would be nice, and more often as well, because writing is like a muscle, and the more you exercise it, the better you get, the more flow you get, and the more inspiration you receive to transfer into songs. So we want to look at that for the next album.
This is your first time in Italy.
Yes.
Are you enjoying yourselves? And did you learn any Italian bad words or gesture like this, for example?
Well, I'm half Italian, but we don't know anything really about our family. I know that the surname Mafricci, and I know that my family are mainly concentrated in Calabria. But my mother was actually orphaned out of the family when she was little, when she was a baby. So we haven't really known any of our Italian family. But my brother and I have always been interested in our Italian heritage. And I think the first words in Italian I learned were "che cosa" and "che posso fare." I think they were like the first two expressions. And then "fangul" and all that stuff. So yeah, I've picked up a little bit, but I'd actually love to learn the language properly and then return with my brother. My brother knows quite a lot more Italian than I do. And then come back and actually travel around and explore the country. It's beautiful. And the people are lovely if you speak the language. If you don't, they're kind of a bit English, arrogant, you know?
Suspicious.
Yeah, it's suspicious, exactly. And I'm not suspicious at all. So I'd like to learn a bit more of the language, definitely.
Tomorrow,
Yes.
in Bologna, we'll see Periphery.
Yes.
And they are featured at the end of the video of Ain't That a Bitch?
Yes.
And briefly in One Hand Killing. What's your relationship with Misha's band?
Well, I think I was into Bulb, Misha's solo project, when he was on MySpace. It was all the way back then. Before Periphery came into his existence, I was a massive fan of what he was doing because it was so fresh and original, and it seemed in line with the rhythmic dynamics of Sugar, who are my favourite band. So yeah, when I heard Misha, I was like, this guy's incredible. And then of course Periphery formed, and I loved what they were doing, and the fact that songs that Misha had written and that I knew of as instrumentals all of a sudden had been turned into these brilliant songs. But I think it was in 2011, 2012, we were put on a bill with them and Tesseract in Melbourne, in our hometown of Melbourne in Australia. And it was a last minute thing. The opening band couldn't appear that night, so we were thrown in. And we played our show, we got up there, we were really nervous, but we gave it everything we had. And I remember seeing Jake and Misha standing out in the crowd, and they're sort of standing up against this wall, kind of going, who are these guys? But by the end of it, they both had a smile on their face, and I thought, that's really interesting. So anyway, it was a little while after, and we were contacted by Jake, and he was really into it, and the guys loved us and what we were doing. So we ended up doing a tour with them in 2013. It was Periphery, Born of Osiris, another Australian band, Dead Letter Circus, and us. So we got to know them on tour. It was such a good tour, and the best first tour overseas that a band could possibly ask for. So that's kind of how we got to know them, and the relationship has blossomed since then. After that tour, we decided to ask them, if they were going to be over in Australia anytime soon. It just so happened that, an Australian tour co-aligned with the making of our film clip, so we got them on board and made them do ridiculous things. But yeah, we love them, and we consider them brothers.
We love them too.
Awesome.
So the last one.
Yes.
Many of your European shows were sold out. Did you expect being so loved in this part of the world?
Not really. In the UK, we thought, oh yeah, some people might like us. The first time we played in Europe was in 2013. We played Euroblast in Germany, did a show in Berlin, a show in Hamburg, which were very quiet. I think there were like 10 people on the show for each of those shows. But of course, Euroblast was a much bigger crowd. Then we went to England, and we weren't sure, but the show had actually sold out 2 weeks in advance. And we got there, it was a tiny little room in Camden called the Barfly. The room was packed. I think they actually squeezed some more people into that room that night. There was sweat dripping from the ceiling. It was the energy was incredible. Everyone was arm in arm, singing, jumping down, and having the best time. And it really, it caught us off guard. We didn't know that we'd made it all that way. So to come back and have such a good response, sell out that many shows in the UK, and then be able to come to the continent and play great shows in Germany, Switzerland, Holland, Italia. It's just been awesome. Spain. It's lovely. It's great to think that we've caught on to a certain degree over here, and we definitely intend on coming back and returning really, really soon.
So, thank you, Kin.
Thanks so much.